The work that you've done over these years, where would you want it to go?
The work is cultural heritage and religion, particularly, and it also gives credibility and foundation in Christianity. It fleshes out the biblical characters to the physical realm. And it's the book St. Patrick Decoded. So it's appropriate that it should go to everywhere where Christianity exists.
Brilliant.
Yeah. See, my father was Catholic, my mother was a Baptist, but we had no problem.
Yeah.
And I really think that if you want to talk about Christianity, they've lost the plot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And all you want is the Ten Commandments.
Yeah.
And they've lost the plot. This church here, we're next door, we're in the vicarage today, right? When we moved in 17 years ago, there were 30, 40 cars there on a Sunday to the service. It's going down, down, down. Now there isn't. They've closed the church. Congregations come. Nobody goes there. They do open it for weddings. And I think that this loss of religious ideas is actually fundamental. And it's one of the things that holds people together and gives them community in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't say religion's right or wrong, it's just, but it's a good idea to have a morality.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to lose that in this country if we're not careful.
Yeah.
So what we would like our work to do is to wake people up to the fact that there's something in this. Now, it may not be what they've been telling people for generations, because that's what people have lost faith with. I don't think anybody really believes in virgin births anymore. And I think a lot of people doubt this business of reviving a corpse after 3 days and so on. You know, it's all too problematical. But at the end of the day, if they got back to square one and just had the Ten Commandments, it's a damn good start. And they've got to get the storyline right. I do believe there is some thing, like a deity, a god, or a creator. I don't see how it could be otherwise. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a great brain or mind to create all the wondrous things that are in the universe and the earth, I don't know. But if you go back billions and billions and billions of years, there was once when there was nothing. Mm-hmm. So what came out of nothing?
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts.
Brilliant. Well, this has been really good. I think we've got some good material here.
I know you've already been over it, and I'm sorry to redress and recap, but I feel it's important. If you could just, without going too deeply into it again, just to go over some of the abuse you've received as a result of undertaking this research and pushing forth with the project as you have. If you could just...
I'll have a go on it.
Well, just telling you, it's imbecility as well as criminality. It's a nasty combination. Devil's cocktail. Imbecility, greed, criminality. Nasty, evil cocktail.
What has happened to us should be a lesson for everyone. We live in a country that believes in freedom of speech. We live in a country that believes in, therefore, freedom of thought. And what has happened is that we've been attacked for writing histories. Now, this may seem crazy at first, but history is very important to people. It's who we are, why we are, how we got here. And therefore it's fundamental for the nation to have a correct history. And all we've tried to do is say, look, here's your history, and we can work it out, it pans out, and it's generally correct. Because if you have no history, you've got no community. You don't know who you are anymore. And so I honestly feel that this is very vital to all of us. And it doesn't matter if the English won a battle or the Scots won a battle or the Welsh won a battle. That's irrelevant, you know. It's where we got today. And I really do feel that without a history, we're going to become rudderless. We've got a ship without a sail or a rudder, you know, we're rudderless. And you've got to have something. So Christianity, yes, has got itself in a knot because there were too many miracles. And if they could get rid of some of the miracles and get rid of the fundamentals, I think they'd be much better off. Okay.
And you say you've been attacked. You mean actually physically attacked?
Well,
or
the attacks have been through corruption, police corruption. We were several times dragged into courts. Big banner headlines, I'm dragged into court, you know, Monday. Tuesday morning they dropped the case. Not a word in the press. An entirely fictitious arrest, an entirely fictitious case that never happened. They did that more than once. How police officers who take an oath serve, I think they should serve the public and not the Queen of England, put it that way.
Actually,
But,
they weren't aware that we've
that's
got
what's
communication from the Queen of England going
No.
back to 1986.
But the point is that we were dragged into courts of all sorts of nature of allegations. We were once dragged into court for vandalising and attacking an old church that we own. It's our property, you know, and we were accused of sort of vandalising it and attacking it as if we were lunatics. Of course, we hadn't even been there for a few months, and this was the sort of thing that goes on. I was dragged into court so many times you wouldn't believe it in South Wales. I think the Cray twins and other criminals would be jealous of the record, you know. And I mean, every time it was a routine, big publicity, drag us into court, all sorts of allegations, and then drop the case. And the press and the media were very, very, they did their job wonderfully. Not a word. Great stuff when you've been arrested on it. Trumped a bogus bloody charge. I was actually accused of burglarising my own house at one time. How can you burglarise your own house? You know? I forget half it, apologise.
Well, you're also accused of stealing, weren't you? Stealing fraud. And you're all because they had the name of, on a computer database, they had the name of David Alan Wilson.
Yeah.
Who in fact is from Connaught. His name is David Alan Wilson. He has a long criminal record.
He was under the
And
name
used-
of Guy Phillips as well. And
He
several
had
other
several
names.
names. He had Guy
He's got
Phillips.
several names.
They used his identification on record and they wrapped it around your neck.
I know.
It was David Alan Wilson.
And I'm Alan Wilson.
And you're just Alan Wilson, but it'll work.
Yeah.
And every time he went to court,
He dropped the
he
check.
just used to use his address. 3 Teedrow Place, Pennyland, Cardiff. Check that up. It comes Alan Wilson, owner of the house. 3 Teedrow Place.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So he gets a massive criminal record, he's piling up. And poor Alan Wilson's getting crucified.
Yeah.
Without even knowing about it. And that's why you got all these chilly receptions from Welsh bureaucracy.
Oh, that was part of it. But
You know?
but wait a minute. The main feature of that is that they then worked might and main, and the police and the authorities broke the law several times to prevent me getting them into court. You
And
tried getting
actually-
them into court.
I-
They get you in easy,
Do
but you
remember
tried
when
getting them into
You
court.
actually met David Alan Wilson. He confessed. He actually
Yeah, I know.
in front of me and my brother. What did he say? Your brother. I wasn't there at that particular time, but you were with my brother. He said something to the effect that I didn't think it would be. I was told it wouldn't harm you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He was using all sorts of
He was using his
names. He had a
addresses.
criminal record a mile long, you know.
Sorry,
And
could you just repeat that? And you actually met the
I knew
dude
him.
who was mistaken. You knew him.
We
and
actually
used to work.
he said that he didn't think you were going to get.
I was going with a girl in there. She used to work for Talkingtons at the time. I had a girlfriend there, and she was Talkingtons and estate agents in Donald Street. And he was also working in Talkingtons. So we found it was a bit of a chance tracing him. And he moved in with her afterwards. He actually moved in the same flat in Roath, Cardiff.
we tracked him down.
And I actually spoke to him. A bit of a Jack the Lad from the type. Bit of a you may consider him some sort of
Idiot.
of a daily figure, you know. And he just used to use his name, piling up the agony, piling on the agony every time he confessed. You got a light sentence because he was so he was admitted guilty straight away,
Yeah, right.
you know.
So,
And he was there obliviously getting the crowd of they found with crown thorns pushed in his head.
That's not the point. No, this is the point.
Crown.
Criminal records are available to the police. They're available to the person whose question record it is and his legal advisors and no one else. You can't have access to somebody else's criminal record. You can go and acquire it yourself. If you've got one, your legal advisor can do it for you, or obviously the police can look at their own records, but no one else. So how did this bogus record against me for the 17 criminal convictions, how does that become public? Now ask that question. It becomes public because somebody decides they're going to spread it.
Spreading poison.
Now, I have no criminal record, not one,
His name was
anywhere
Jackson
on this
Wood
planet.
in South Wales.
I've been told you can't say that. Of course I can say it. I got no bloody record.
You actually know the criminal, not even the parking ticket.
I did have one parking ticket.
Well,
but,
right, you had one
yeah.
parking ticket.
Everybody has one.
Now there's something seriously wrong when that can happen in this country. Something very wrong with the country. And we tried mind and mind to get getting the police into court. I'll tell you something now.
Control the
Get a
cars.
bucket of oil, put a greased eel in it, get a pair of rubber gloves and try and catch hold of the eel. It's easier than getting the police into court.
South Wales police.
South Wales police. And I wanted to put this up. Corrupt bastards. Right?
Okay.
What they did to us is wrong. It wouldn't happen in Soviet Russia or China or any of these countries that we denigrate. It's wrong.
We're getting those old corruption and backhanders and skullduggery.
Cash. Cash. One company down there was pulling in £500,000 a year in grants, weren't they?
Yeah, but that was long, that's equivalent to millions today.
I know.
We're talking about the 80s.
And they saw us as a threat to their grants monopoly.
£500,000 in 1986.
Yeah.
I could buy a drink for 50 pence then.
One year they pulled in 750,000, which is sounding, in grants. And they were into history, but they never did anything.
Yeah.
They couldn't find their way home on a bright sunny day. And they were pulling in cash left, right and centre, and there were top politicians involved. And we were hammered. They knocked us into the ground like a tent peg.
George Thomas.
George Thomas and Callahan. Remember him? Yeah.
No, he got called down.
George loves Julian. No, was it? Was that, no,
Yeah.
sorry, it was Julian loves Jim.
Yeah, there was some people were putting graffiti up around the town. George loves Julian. George Thomas was the Member of Parliament, and Julian Hodge was the banker, except the Bank of Wales. And we were a threat to the money flows, you see. There was all sorts going on. And another one of the directors of the Bank of Wales was Callahan, the bent politician who became Prime Minister, you know. They're both bent as fishhooks. Corkscrews more like it. And we inadvertently had sort of
Entered into that world.
entered into it by virtue of sites we were finding, and there were, you know, an ancient site can't be destroyed, but if someone wants to develop that land, he wants to get rid of the site.
The Royal Mint, for
And that
example.
sort of
The
thing.
Royal Mint. is a good
Royal Mint.
example.
They built it
It was
on
George Thomas and Callahan.
They built it in the wrong place, but they, you know, everybody was making money except us. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was politics. And of course, once a politician of that stature, George Thomas was Secretary of State for Wales, and Callahan worked his way up the ladder, all sorts of jobs, and became Prime Minister. Well, that would have destroyed the Labour Party down there for sure. It would have done great damage. And I think that's why they really went after us. Because once they'd started into us, they had to back them up, didn't they? Interesting.
Indeed.
Fact.
Right.
We're dealing with facts.
This is the beautiful thing about this.
Can I ask? Is there, off the top of your heads, is there a certain site in Wales that you think would hold significant archaeological relevance to the story and the narrative and the history? Off the top of your head, a place that.
Several.
St. Peter's in particular.
Several.
Yeah. Could you list them just for this is for just for my own reference and just for us to later on I can.
No, sure. I don't want to list them. I don't want to say where they are.
No.
Right.
Right.
I mean, St. Peter's Church, that's in the old.
Well, yeah,
There's a crypt under that church.
Where's St Peter's Church?
The units.
We own it. It's a ruin.
Right.
It was
Oh,
traced
yeah.
back to and it's been vandalised and vandalised ever since because they don't want it, you know.
Well, what actually happened was we found a sword-shaped memorial stone of King Arthur II. King Arthur II of South Wales, basically. And several years later, 1990, wasn't it? Richard Melbourne found an electrum cross. Electrum cross about 9 inches by 6 inches in diameter, weighed approximately over 2.5 pounds in weight. I'm talking about pounds. And he is now unfortunately passed away, because at the time in 1990 he was about 56 then. He just passed away last year, 2016. Nobody lives forever, unfortunately. But that's what happened. He found the cross, not us. And he has been broadcast, describing how he did it and what he did. So St. Peter's Church is a place of enormous historical and religious significance.
He did a film with Richard Hall, didn't he?
He made a film
He
with Richard
took him up
Hall.
there and showed him.
Yeah, well, we excavated the church, and it goes back to the 1st century. There's been 7 successive rebuildings on the site, and the earliest site is 1st century. The cross is important because the sheer weight of it is, what is it, 3 pounds 4 ounces or something? It's heavy.
2.5 pounds.
2.5 pounds. And they said, oh, we made that on the kitchen table with a bit of, you can make a tile-edged soldier, but you can't make a silver cross on a cooker.
Well, I had it
It's
analysed
crackers.
by the most reputable metallurgy
Yeah,
department.
they cut a sliver off the back. My colleague contacted them, asked them, they said, cut a little sliver off the back, tested it.
It's,
And we took no part in it, none at all. And it's exactly the right sort of mixture of impurities that might be anticipated in that era, 5th, 6th century. So what else can we do? So you find something, how can you make a thing that big on your kitchen table? You can't do it.
there's complexities.
Complexities, it's just
The
ridiculous.
inscriptions on are detailed. The man and a horse.
What are you going to do? Get on a
There's a man
silver
on a
coins
horse.
and melt them down or something?
with,
It's a lot.
with a sword in his hand and a crown on his head in the middle of the cross. It's
Yeah,
a detailed
just work it out. A little figure in the middle.
Right. And you still own the church?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Oh, it's hopelessly vandalised. The government don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it any place.
Right.
But actually, there's a very important burial nearby it. Very important.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's not have that information yet.
No, I don't want
Right.
to give you that.
No, definitely.
You won't believe it anyway.
I don't know, beliefs, you guys have actually earned a reputation, you know, so...
Yeah.
You got more and more followers coming on board.
Yeah,
They can-
there is
it
a
works. The
very
interest is
important
growing.
Trend
site
is certainly heading
nearby
up.
which has been blocked, that entrance has been blocked out. We've never told anybody where it is.
Right.
We've been over the top with a metal detector and there is a surround of lead, we think, non-ferrous metal. So they used to use lead sheets to prevent water damage. Because lead is easily malleable and
Yeah,
cheap
yeah.
enough.
Yeah.
Whereas it doesn't rust, you see, but iron is still rust.
No,
Rust,
rusts away.
lead won't rust.
No, of course not.
So there's a hell of a lot up there that we haven't let them know.
Good.
There's a treasure site of there's a massive stuff up on that mountain, isn't it? So
Absolutely.
other sites, yeah, we've never told them where it is. Why should we? And other sites we know of. We know of other sites elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's bricked up, walled up stuff.
Well, this is where, I mean, as I said, we've come here with no expectations, no ideas, no, this is where we want to go with it. But I am actually seeing the formulation of something. The first question really is, do you guys want this to continue? Not just the histories, but the digging in, the finding things.
Yes, of course we do. I mean, we're both young enough mentally.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only 85. For that,
Yeah, it's
I mean, yeah, we would like to do all we can while I'm still here. But I know that a lot of them down in Wales, on the other side of the fence, anxiously waiting for me to snuff it, you know, get rid. And I'm not
What's the
gonna,
point?
well, they're going to be disappointed.
No, the
no.
point quite simply is when they go away, the history gets forgotten. It's happened time and time and time again.
Yeah.
You know.
But
Well,
there's so many people now interested, more and more people interested, like me, you, various people. I'm sure Alan, before he leaves this mortal coil, would like to some of these sites to be dug with his
Yeah, of course you
permission
would.
and actually prove
Yeah.
what he
Yeah.
All right,
finding.
put it this way.
well, Alan,
I walked
you
into
miss-
Cardiff, I told you this one earlier, and I got off the train and I went down to see family and that, you know. And so I decided I wouldn't get a bus or not a taxi, I'd walk. And I walked through the older districts in the town centres. I got the older districts and I walked, you know. And I got along the street and the Methodist chapel, not there anymore. Oh, you know, a bit further on, there used to be a Baptist chapel. That's not there anymore. Got up to Smart Bridge, oh, there used to be a big church, that's gone. And all along the route, the only places that existed still were some Church of England places, which are funded by the state, as it were, and a Catholic church. But everything else had gone. And I went down to where there was a little area of land, and they had a little chapel there round the corner from the street where I was, Clydesbury Road. That had gone. And I was walking along and I saw the priest standing at the steps of outside his church. See? Good morning, afternoon it was actually, afternoon. I had a chat. I said, "Oh, did you get in here?" He said, "Ah," he said, he remembered me. He said, "I'm lucky to get 3. You know? Now, this church here, next door to us, we're in the vicarage, right?
Mm-hmm.
When we moved in here 17 years ago, then we had minimum 30 cars out parked in the street, people coming out to church. Besides those that walked there, there was a congregation. That church is now empty, closed down. Nobody goes there. So the decline in sort of, I don't care if you're a Muslim or a Hindu or a Christian or what it is. I think everybody needs something to believe in, and you also get the community. And I think if we lose this altogether, we're in trouble. So we think we can do something good, because we can straighten out a lot of things in the past. Because I think the Christians went too far. You know, you floats up to heaven, the ascension.
Metaphorical.
Yeah.
It's metaphors.
Yeah, and virgin births, nobody really believes it anymore. And I think they went too far in many directions. But if you just stick to the 10 Commandments, you haven't got far, you won't go far wrong. And I think there is a need in this country for something to happen. I think there's a great need for it. Otherwise we're going to be, we'll lose our identity, we're losing that with immigrants. We lose our
I
integrity.
don't know, Alan.
We lose our way of life.
Black Americans are Christians, you know, a lot of them have a lot.
Well, they're not here, they're in America. You know.
And in Britain, and
I'm not
in the US,
criticising black
yes.
people. I didn't say that.
No, I'm saying a diverse population is Christians. You go to, for example, South America, Rio de Janeiro has enormous celebrations and razzmatazz and
Yeah, but they're all South Americans, aren't they? They're not Russians and
just
Germans, and
for
they're not South Americans.
St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah,
And it's the same in Sydney.
yeah, we got to get something back. We've got to
Same
do
in
something.
New York, all Boston,
Yeah.
all the East Coast.
So
So you've got to
I'm
look
not
at this
the menacing big
You've got to look at this in an ecumenical
That's helpful.
sense.
I think the key issue, which I go with Alan on, is when you look at people coming into the country, it takes, on average, 3 generations for them to
Absolutely.
become part of the culture.
Yeah,
You know, and that's not to say whether they are either a Hindu or Sikh or a Muslim or a Christian. We have a culture, and 3 generations is usually what it takes for people to be absorbed into our culture, to become just the same as us. And where we've got so much migration coming in, it's not happening, and we are losing the identity of who we
yeah,
are.
yeah.
And you know,
Well,
I can go with what you're saying.
History will give it back.
If you look at it on an ecumenical sense, basically the central core of Christianity started. It was promulgated with St. Patrick, with the consent, is the word, of the Roman Empire, and particularly Constantine. consented.
Well, the
Even
different-
the English High Kings, and Ethelbert is one of them, who later came on, and King Niall of Ireland. King Niall, he was the High King of Ireland, one of the High Kings, including him and the others. All the nobility had to condone it. St Patrick, if he was just a nobody coming out of the was crawling out the woodwork, he wouldn't get anywhere. He would have to get accepted by the powerful forces, the powers that be.
Indeed.
So Christianity has evolved, and as far as these old kings and emperors were concerned, it's not perfect, but it's at least objectionable.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing perfect, but this is at least objectionable. Or best of all, a bad bunch if you want, because if you read between the lines on G.D. Berry and all the other historians, Hargreaves, Berry, Winchester's, Winchesterton, and a few others. I've got 28 references altogether in the book St Patrick Decoded, which identifies St Patrick and his lineage, genealogy charts. For the first time ever, there's a genealogy chart of St Patrick, his mother, his father, everything. Fortunately, he's not Welsh, he's half Welsh, half Old Britain, B-R-I-T, as I described it. Some refer to him as a Morgannwg, from Morgannwg. Some just simply see from Glamorganshire. That's what G.D. Berry actually says he's from Glamorganshire in his book. He's a historian, well known, and St Patrick. But basically, his father is, no matter which way you look at it, whatever context it's in, he's an old Brit. His mother, on the other hand, by the same token, no matter what context the name is looked at, she's 100% definitely not Welsh or British even. It's an Irish name, Irish origin in every angle. So he basically is, that's which is good for the Emperor of Rome's and the King of Islands to get behind them. So everybody basically got the best of it in a sense of promulgation of Christianity. It developed more in the other world better in that aspect, because you've got Europe, Britain involved strongly, and it's basically a religion. It may not be perfect, it's got metaphors throughout biblical, if you look at biblical studies, it is metaphors, but it hasn't got. But if you look at all the other, it's considered by the emperors, the high kings, and St Patrick himself to be the least objectionable. And St Patrick made it his mission to promulgate Christian religion to the best of his powers, absolute maximum. And that was his mission.
Brilliant. We are actually running out of time because
Right.
Cole and I will have to be going back
All right.
by the end of the hour.
But I get some of these